So, you've seen those mind-blowing AI demos, right? The ones that promise to change everything. But then, what happens when they hit the real world? A lot of them just fizzle. And that's because running AI in production is frankly a total nightmare. It's all hidden costs and wildly unpredictable behavior. Well, today we're going to look at something called CognOS. It's a totally different way to think about AI, not as some fragile script, but as a real workload managed by a true operating system for intelligence.
And this quote, man, it just nails the problem perfectly. Look, anybody can automate a simple task. That's the easy part. But running actual intelligence, something that has to operate with real-world rules like budgets or safety policies, that is a whole different ballgame. It's incredibly difficult. And if you don't have that kind of governance, you just get chaos. And that's exactly the gap that CognOS is built to fill.
Okay, so here's what we've got on tap. We'll kick things off with the big problem everyone's facing with AI in production. Then, we'll dive into how CognOS works as an operating system for intelligence. We'll break down its three main pillars, see how it all works in action, and finally, talk about why this is such a game changer.
All right, let's dive right in. Section 1, the production AI problem. If you've ever tried to take one of those cool AI demos and actually make it work in a live production environment, you know the pain I'm talking about. It is an absolute minefield of hidden costs, unpredictable agents, and just operational headaches.
And here are the classic symptoms, right? Your costs just explode out of nowhere, or maybe an agent gets stuck in some crazy loop and there's no kill switch. You get an answer back, but you have absolutely no clue how the AI arrived at it. These aren't just little bugs we're talking about. These are fundamental, show-stopping failures. And they happen because we're trying to wrangle this super unpredictable AI with tools that were built for simple, predictable workflows.
Okay, this table really lays it all out. On one hand, you've got your traditional workflow engines like Airflow or Temporal. They're great for predictable stuff, but they have zero concept of a budget. They'll just run forever. On the other hand, you have these cool new agent frameworks, right? Like LangGraph. They're amazing at reasoning, but they have no operational controls. You can't just pause them for a human to check the work or enforce a policy. CognOS sits right in the middle, bridging that gap. It gives you a governed runtime that can do it all.
So that brings us to the solution, and it's a pretty big one. It's about changing how we think. Instead of seeing AI as just another script to run, we need to see it as a special kind of workload that needs its own dedicated manager, a true operating system for intelligence. It's a huge shift in perspective, but it's absolutely necessary.
So what is CognOS exactly? Well, think of it like this. It's a real OS that puts up the essential guardrails for your AI. It's a governed runtime, which is just a fancy way of saying it gives you control over things like budgets and policies. And here's the really cool part. It's declarative. That means you're not writing a bunch of complicated code telling it step-by-step how to do something. Nope. You just declare what you want to happen in a super simple file, and the OS figures out the rest. That's why we can call it a no-code platform for this kind of agentic AI. And just to be clear, this isn't some academic paper or cool concept. This is a real production-ready system. It was created by Dan Vanderbrum over a critical insight, specifically designed to tackle these massive scaling challenges head-on. Okay, so how in the world does CognOS actually pull all this off? Well, it's all built on this incredibly powerful foundation of three core pillars, and they work together perfectly. Think of them like the system's memory, its nervous system, and its muscle.
First up is the knowledge mesh. We call this the memory. But really, it's so much more than just a database. What it does is take all your scattered data and events and weave them into living, trusted knowledge. It tracks where every single piece of information came from. That's what we call provenance. And why is that a huge deal? Because that's how you ground your AI in reality, how you stop it from hallucinating, and how you build a system you can actually truly trust.
Next, we have the event fabric, which is basically the nervous system. This is how CognOS actually senses and reacts to the world around it. It takes in all those chaotic signals your business is constantly generating, logs, alerts, API calls, you name it, and it organizes them into this unified living event graph. This is the key to letting the system respond intelligently and, more importantly, safely to what's happening in real time. And finally, there's agentic orchestration. This is the muscle. This is the part that actually does the work. It's the governed runtime that executes all the intelligent tasks, and it does it safely and predictably. But here's the most important part. It does all of this under strict budgets and policies. This is what finally puts an end to those runaway costs and that chaotic AI behavior we talked about. So, there you have it.
The memory, the nervous system, and the muscle. These are the powerful engines running under the hood. But how do you actually tell them what to do? Well, this is where the real beauty of CognOS comes in. You don't write a bunch of code. You just use a simple declarative approach.
And this is literally what it looks like. It's not some crazy complex code. It's just a simple YAML file where you list out the tasks you want done. And check out the executor part. This is the magic right here. You can have a simple tool fetch some data, then pass it to an agent to do some creative extraction. Then, and this is huge, you can pause for a human to review it before another agent drafts a response. It's all mixed together, seamlessly, in one simple workflow.
So once you define that workflow, the OS just takes over, and it follows this really clean 5-step process. But notice the control at every single stage. First, a run has to be admitted. It has to fit the budget and policies. Then the tasks get dispatched to the right place. The work gets done, and then, this part is so important, the outputs and the budget usage are formally committed back to the system. When it's all done, you have a perfect, fully auditable trail of exactly what happened, why it happened, and what it cost.
Okay, so let's put it all together and see how these 3 pillars create this amazing closed loop. It starts with the event fabric, the nervous system, which detects a signal from the outside world. That signal triggers the agentic orchestration, the muscle to kick off a workflow. That workflow then reads from and writes to the knowledge mesh, the memory, to understand the world and record what it's learned. And here's the kicker. That new knowledge can then emit a brand new event which starts the whole cycle over again. It's a constantly learning, self-regulating intelligence system.
Look, this architecture is obviously really powerful. But what does it actually mean for you, for your business, for your teams? Why should you care? Let's talk about the real-world outcomes. When you boil it all down, the shift is from total chaos to real control. You're moving away from brittle, chaotic scripts and unpredictable costs, and moving toward governed, declarative workflows. You're going from opaque, untraceable runs to having full provenance and observability. Basically, you stop building fragile demoware that can't scale, and you start building systems that are production-ready from the get-go.
And what's great is that this helps literally everyone on the team. Your architects, they finally get a consistent model where they can actually enforce budgets and policies. Your developers, they can stop worrying about all the low-level plumbing and just focus on composing these amazing agentic and deterministic tasks. And your ops team, they get the visibility they've always dreamed of into cost, latency, retries, and even the state of human-in-the-loop checkpoints. And all of that rolls up into 5 major business outcomes that really matter. We're talking about cost predictability, faster time to value, real trust and compliance, cross-domain agility, and finally, genuine operational control.
So, let's just end with this question. For years, we've been trying to jam AI into frameworks that were just never designed for it. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. CognOS asks a completely different question. What could you build if your AI wasn't just a script, but was part of a true operating system? An OS that was designed from the ground up for intelligence. What becomes possible then?